we're joined by Oladipo Ajayi, head of fixed income at Chapel Hill Denham, and he joins us from Lagos. Thank you so much for joining us, Oladipo.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, considering the presentation of the 2025 budget for 2025 fiscal year, do you have an idea of how the Lagos state government plans to fund this ambitious budget, especially considering potential revenue challenges and economic uncertainties?
Well, for Lagos state government, their focus is to actually, they are looking at actually generating about 1.9 trillion from internal generated revenue. And if we have looked at the Lagos state past performance in Nigeria, I think that sounds more like one of their greatest 40. And also, they are actually very conservative in terms of what comes from the federal government. And that's one of the reasons why they pegged that at 626 billion. So what they are trying to do, and that is what they mean by diversifying their revenue generation bucket. So it simply means that they are not relying so much on federal government, because when you're talking about oil, you are talking about what comes from federal government. They are looking at funding this budget from what they can do within their might. And that's why they actually said, oh, they are looking at generating about 1.9 trillion internally, and looking at getting about 604.6 billion from federal government. So the balance of about 408 billion is going to be borrowed. So they actually mentioned that they will actually borrow some, more like an external borrowing, and the remainder will actually be raised in form of a bond in our local markets. And I think that's more like the breakdown of how they want to actually generate this revenue.
Okay. Now, speaking of some of these projects that they intend to, focus on in 2025, do you have an idea of the key projects that they should prioritize come 2025, and how these projects will contribute to the state's economic growth and also improve the quality of life for residents?
I think for me, looking at the budget, I think what comes to mind is that green line. Green line is more like the rail system that will move all the way from Marina to the free trade zone. And currently, if we look at what's happening at the free trade zone currently, we understand what Dangote is doing currently in that zone. And we understand how other businesses actually create a form of transportation that can actually commute people all the way from Marina down to that place. What you have done is that you have opened up the businesses that's actually happening over there. And another thing you have done is that you have made it easier for people that work in that terrain to be able to actually move around, and also movement of goods all the way from that zone into the major city. Also, you have what you're trying to do is to make it easier for people to actually move things around. And I think it stands like one of the best projects that I think it's on that budget. It's just like you talking about the red line that was just commissioned all the way from Agbado Jai to somewhere in Oyinbo. And if you look at the way that has eased the livelihood of people that stayed around that line, you will understand what it means, what transportation system, good transportation system will mean for a city like Lagos. Another thing that comes to mind is also tourism. Lagos State is looking at actually prioritizing tourism in this budget. They are looking at actually activating a lot of things that is cultural about Lagos. They also feel that that's also another form of revenue generation for the states. And so they are looking at investing aggressively into that sector as well. And that's one of the reasons why as much as about 124 billion was actually budgeted for security. So because a state that wants to actually do tourism, it means that that state needs to be secure. And that's one of the reasons why on security side also in that direction, so as to protect the state and people that live in the states.
Okay, so but what about the budget for social welfare programs, healthcare, education, and other social services? Will these investments also impact, Lagos residents as well?
Yes, because if you look at the budget critically, we have about 208 billion budget for education. And I think that when you look at the size of the budget, sincerely speaking, it's not a very big budget in terms of, because when you look at it in total, it's about $1.7 billion budget. And when you look at the number of people that actually inhabit in Lagos, and you compare it with the level of budget, you will find out that it's actually a very small budget. And Lagos is bigger than many African nations. And but when you see the budget that Lagos is running, you will see that it's actually a very small budget, because for you to actually make an impact in an economy or on the people, at least the budget needs to be sizable. But how big it? I will feel that a 208 billion budget for education would not be a bad idea. But main thing is not about even budgeting. It's about the implementation of some of these things. And it's actually gladdening my heart when the governor was actually speaking on the budget. He mentioned that the current budget for the year 2024, that they've done about 84% implementation. And so it simply means that one way or the other, they've done almost 90% of what is actually earmarked to be done in the year 2024. If we can actually toe the same line for 2025, I think that people will feel the impact of this. And also on social welfareism also. Lagos State also mentioned that they have plans around that. They have fund budgeted for that as well, to actually help people to better the livelihood of people. And also to cushion the effect of some of the policy that's actually coming from the central on the populace, that people that actually reside in Lagos. And another thing that I mentioned earlier on, the transportation system. Also, things like that also help pushing the effect of some of the hardship of the policies that are coming from federal.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Oladipo, for joining us and speaking on this.